Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back in with another video, and this is going to be part 20 of the Vardos mock build series. This week I was able to get started on that big courtyard on this side of the mock behind these buildings, and the one that's basically going to lead up to the big tower and the bag. So I'm excited to finally be just working that general area of the mock, and even more excited to be that much closer to being able to start that giant tower. But before we get into the video, I do want to say special thanks to this week's Livestream donors. We had donations from Lego Soldier 82, Jedi Bob, Screemin Seagull, Xavier Sorrent, Bayley's Bricks, which was the biggest shock of the year, honestly, Hayden Younger, Cosmic Brick 44, Lonely Tent 2, and Dan 6151. So special thanks to all of you guys for donating on the live streams. Like I say, if you guys aren't checking out the live streams, I definitely urge you to do so. I had a particularly interesting conversation with a member by the name of Jedi Bob, and we talked about the sequels. We did a little debating, and I think that it was very positive overall. These prequel and sequel debates can often end up pretty messy, but I think that we had a very productive conversation, and it ultimately just led into us talking about the good old times back in the days of our Lego lives. So definitely go check that out, guys. It was a really good time, and of course, look at the live streams moving forward. So like I said, got working on that courtyard in the back, got some new lights wired in, so I'll be able to show you guys that as well. So I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to show you guys the mock. Before I show you guys any of the build progress, I did want to show you that I've got a pretty important order in. Got my pick-a-brick order of 999 dark gray 2x2 tiles. Anyone who builds Star Wars mocks knows that these things are quite a hot commodity. So one thing you'll notice throughout the mock is I actually haven't used a lot of these that I could have used already. Like there were some places, for example, over here on that wall at the top where I did need to fill in some tiles, and just other places as well, like the top of the building and the other one as well. But my rationale is I don't want to get in a position where I like use all of these up really quickly, and then I get to a spot where like I need to put the tiles in order to keep building, and I have to wait for the tiles to be ordered. So my idea is to basically just keep these on reserve, only put them where I like absolutely have to until I start getting towards the end of the mock, and then I'll see what I have left over, and then that way I can progress without needing the tiles, and then at the very end, if I need to order more, I can do that. But I just didn't want to get myself in a position where I was like trying to continue building, so I would either have to just wait or like snatch tiles off of places I've already placed tiles. So I'm trying to be a little bit more smarter with the way that I do this, and I think that it will just help me continue building overall. So that's that. Let's move on. And back over this way, as we go through these buildings, you will see really the main event of this video, but it is that finally got started on this main courtyard back here. This was, I'm not sure, you guys can tell me what you think about it. I don't know if it looks like a lot of work, but it really was a lot of work because there are lights going to those 4 cylinders right there. You can see around Inferno Squad. And then there's also lights in here as well. And of course, I'll show you all that illuminated at the end of the video. But this was quite a lot of work to get everything wired up. The biggest thing was like when I first started, I was basically trying to figure out how I could build this thing in such a way where the sides right here were actually slanted in, because in the game, the sides are just ever so slanted, and basically this whole wall right here actually kind of goes and it converges towards the middle. And I tried so many different techniques until the point where I just realized that the angle just wasn't going to work out. It was such a subtle and slight angle that there were no wedge plates I could really use to accomplish it either. And I got to the point where it was just more stressful than it was worth. I just figured, it's such a slight thing, then I think that like building it this way would just make it so much easier for me to make progress on it. So I decided I'll just do it this way. You guys can let me know if that's like a really big thing you would have liked to see. But for me, it was just much easier to build it this way. And I just kind of got to avoid a lot of that stress and keep continuing building this thing, because I just been spending so much time sitting here and tinkering around with it, and it really just become not really worth the effort. But this is what I was able to get done, and that's kind of why it really took me so long to even come up with this. The other thing that took a long time was the fact that I had built up a lot of these like sections right here. You can see the way that I'm actually doing this is I have what's basically a 12x12 stud section. It's comprised of plates, so I stacked like 4x6 plates. I kind of cross hatch them, and then I put those 2x plates at the bottom to provide extra structure. And then there's just a bunch of columns at the bottom that kind of braces everything together and has it elevated, because most of this MOC is elevated. And this entire area right here is just comprised of a bunch of those. So I had built up so many of them, and I kind of set up just to figure out really the area that I wanted this courtyard to take up. And then I realized, oh crap, I got a lot of wiring to run under here. So obviously had to get the wiring to connect to those 4 lights right there. Then I had to run them from like wherever the power leads were over here, all the way to over here to have the lights connect to these 2 areas. And then I also had to basically prepare for the future and have 2 wires poking right out of here so I can use them to run back to that other side. So I ended up tearing up a lot of it to accomplish that. And that's just one of the things you're going to run into whenever you're doing wiring. Unless you just really plan it out ahead, you're probably going to have to tear up some stuff in order to get wires to fit as you would like them to. So that's another thing that make this really take a lot longer than it normally would have. But I'm happy with the end result. It makes me very happy that I'm finally working on this part of the MOC. I did incorporate some of these stairs, so you can see it goes down to this little pathway along the side. You can see we got an Imperial officer chilling there. And of course, I put some studs there to kind of represent the water at the very edge of the MOC. So it is consistent with the water down there along the platform over there. So I was happy to be consistent in that regard. And figuring this out, while it looks very simple, because it has those 4 lights right there, those 4 sections, it really did complicate how I was going to put this thing together. And the biggest thing was just figuring out like how the wires were going to get here. It's not as simple as like, say use a 2x2 brick, put the light with that piece under it right on top of there, because I'd have to like drill a hole to get the light to be able to go up to the cylinder. So I had to obviously use that 2x2 round tile with the hole in the middle in order to even run the light through there. And then a few interesting building techniques, like putting the 2x4 tiles sideways on there so I could have the wires run all the way through it. But that's a bunch of nerdy talk to basically just say something that really, like, it's a pretty simple design. It's not complicated by any means, but the fact that there's wires that have to go through it did make it complicated. So spent a lot more time on that than I normally would have. It would have really just been straightforward if it wasn't that way. But it was totally worth it. I think you guys will agree with that whenever I get the lights up. And just to kind of give you guys an idea for what all is going to be in this area of the MOC. This square that I have colorfully put here is going to be where the big statue of Admiral Versio is. So I'm also going to have to figure out a way to have the spotlights that shine up on that come through there somehow. There's going to be like a section kind of like this one right here, almost exactly like that one. 2 of those along the sides with Vardos trees, and then 2 more of those with, instead of trees, there's these weird like sculptures that they have on Vardos I have to recreate somehow. It's actually quite a complicated looking structure, so I'll have to figure that out. And the pathways are all just going to lead up to a giant staircase that'll eventually go up to the giant tower that's going to be here. The tower's going to be massive. This building is the tallest building here. I imagine it'll be quite a bit taller than it. My goal would be, like, if this building's here, I would want the tower to maybe come up here. I don't know how many feet that is. I would have to really think about that, but it would be really tall. It would be taller than me, like, while it's sitting on the table. So it'll be huge, and the point of it being so huge is because anywhere you're on the map, you can turn and you can see that big tower from literally anywhere you are. So it obviously has to stick out a lot, and I just think it's such a cool design, and it'll really take this mod to a different level by having such a giant tower there. So just to give you guys a closer look at a lot of the details, this was the intro shot. We got Inferno Squad making their way closer and closer to that big tower over there. I do like how these pictures and intro shots for these videos are kind of following the pathway of the game. Like, now that we finally have these Inferno figures, first they started out over there, going through there. Now they're making their way into this courtyard. Depending on how far I get between this update and the next update, I imagine the next update will be them, like, walking up the stairs to the big building. That would be ideal, and so on and so forth. So all in all, I'm happy with the progress I was able to make. Do hope you guys share the same feelings. And the other thing I did want to mention before I head out is that basically the edge of that side of the MOC is a mirror image of this one. However, over there, there's going to be a pathway that leads to another building, and the characters basically go from the building right here, and it stretches alongside the back of that building. and then they actually in the game would go into another building that goes that way, and then they would come out basically at the very end of the building on that side onto that street. They go and steal an AT-AT, and they bring it back around over to get back to the Corvus. So I do like how this MOC is really progressing the same way that the video game progressed, and man, I'm just so excited about this thing. It makes me so happy being able to work on this thing. You guys have no idea. So now that I've shown you guys all the build progress, I'm going to turn off the lights on the room. We're going to turn on the lights on the MOC, and you guys will be able to see the new lights that I installed. First thing I wanted to show you guys is that I did install some new batteries into this thing, so it is quite a bit brighter than it has been recently. I spent a little bit of money on the batteries to get the long-lasting versions of it, so hopefully that'll last me to the end of the MOC. But we'll see how all of that goes. But it is nice to see some of the smaller lights kind of illuminated a lot more than they were previously. I love the lights on this thing. But if we go forward to the big progress section, you will see we got some pretty cool looking lights here. And I can actually pull up a picture right now of what this stair section would look like. And you'll see that I think I did a pretty good job recreating not just the stairs, but the lights as well. Those look really nice, in my opinion. They glow so much, and I don't know, I just think they look really cool there. Anytime you can, what I feel is seamlessly integrate lights into a MOC, I think it just adds so much to it. The other lights that I added are actually in here. So you can see the sides of these things are actually illuminated. And it's the same way on the other side as well. So I think it looks pretty cool. I spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out how all of this was going to work out, how all this wiring was going to be able to flow underneath here, and I like it. It came out pretty well in my opinion. There's really just going to be so many lights in this section. Like this courtyard alone is going to have, dare I say, as many lights as the rest of the MOC right now, but all really concentrated right here because there's just so much going on in this section. But we'll see. I bought some new LEDs, so hopefully that'll let me make a considerable amount of progress on this bad boy. But really, that's all I got for you guys this week. I do hope that you enjoyed checking out this light portion of the MOC. It always makes me so happy when I get to do this. And we'll go ahead and move to the end of the video. That's going to finish the video, guys. Of course, let me know in the comment section what you thought about the MOC. I didn't get as much done as I would have loved to, but it is very promising that I'm moving on to that back portion of the MOC at the tables pushed back together, so that allows me to kind of integrate the back portion with the previous two portions that I've been working on. Very exciting times. For the next update, I do hope to at least start at the base of the big tower just to figure out exactly how the shape is going to be. The stairs have some really weird angles on them, so that's going to be quite a challenge figuring that out. And then I would also like to figure out that building that kind of leads from that courtyard over to the other side of the MOC where that big street is. So I think I've gotten to a point where it just feels like I'm so close to being done. I really think just because like the first two tables are mostly complete and I'm just finally at the third section of the MOC. And it's crazy to think that initially the MOC was only going to be 2 tables. Just looking at it now, there's no way I could have fit all the things I would have wanted to do onto those 2 tables. But now we are on the 3rd table and progressing forward towards a completed MOC. So that's really all I got for you guys this week. Like I always say, if you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.